Welcome back, viewers. You are still tuned into Prime Live. Now, since last Sunday, over 20 incidents of wildfires tore through the Karkloof Nature Reserve and surrounding farms, killing livestock, destroying grazing land, as well as burning houses to the ground. Now, the Karkloof is an exceptional, unspoiled area in the north of KZN Midlands, which is filled with grasslands, wetlands, as well as huge tracts of forest. We are going to be joined by Bobby this evening, who is a risk and mitigation fire management specialist and the chairperson of the HDLA, one of the largest farmer associations in the province. Bobby has many years of experience in mitigation of wildfires as well as forest fires. He joins us now to tell us more about the situation on the ground and to also enlighten us about some of the goodwill initiatives that are taking place to assist those that have been affected. Good evening, Bobby, and thank you so much for joining us on Prime Live.
Good evening, Nadia, and good evening to your viewers.
Now, before we get into the devastation that has been caused by the fires, could you help us locate the area that we are talking about? Where is it in KZN, and how important is the ecosystem in that area and around there?
The Karkloof area lies slightly north of the town of Howick within the Umgeni municipal area, and stretches into the Mpafana area in terms of a biosphere, and also in the Mshwati municipal area, primarily made up of timber plantations. Karkloof Nature Reserve, Wildlands Trust have a conservation farm in the area, and then there's primarily dairy and livestock farming.
So this is incredibly important because the Karkloof area is an important ecosystem, not just for the wildlife and for the species, but for human beings as well. And we understand that since last Sunday, particularly 20 fire incidences were reported, and 10 of them were particularly very serious. Is this an ongoing situation, and how much damage has been caused thus far?
That's correct, yeah. Unfortunately, last Sunday we had very severe fire weather, if I could term it that way, with northwest winds. And, this time of the year is also the time when landowners are putting in mitigation measures for fire breaks. And at times, a day or two after these have been burnt, there are flare-ups when the bad weather comes through. And there are also the unfortunate incidents of arson fires, whether it be as a result of labour disputes with landowners, or just community members being careless, walking home along garden paths, etc., felt paths, etc., and dropping cigarettes under such dry, windy conditions. So it was unfortunate that on Sunday we had these multiple fires. The largest fire that we had stretched approximately 18 kilometers in length, and it was fanned by very strong winds. It crossed a number of commercial farms and community farms and into commercial timber farms, and then spotted further into a lifestyle conservation resort known as Mbona. Approximately area at this stage, we're looking at about 7,500 hectares of just a single fire. If we add up all the hectares on Sunday into Monday, we are probably looking at about 8,500 to 9,000 hectares of land which has been burnt. And then unfortunately on Tuesday night again, an arson fire was put in, losing a further approximate 1,500 hectares.
The statistics are alarming, the amount of devastation that has been caused. And just from the images and the videos that were shared on screen with us now, we can see the very clear devastation. You're talking about kilometers of fires that are taking place, and it's absolutely devastating to see. And it's very heartbreaking that this is not trending everywhere on social media at the moment. We know that when the Knysna fires were happening, it was trending everywhere, and we definitely need to create more awareness out there about what is going on. And just on Monday, we did see that message from social media by the Umgeni municipality that had donated hay, as well as encouraging residents to do the same. How have the animals been affected in terms of their feed, and are there any initiatives that viewers at home can get involved with to support the ongoing initiatives?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part of these wildfires, is we tend to forget about the livestock and the wildlife that are left behind with zero grazing. So a number of folk, Wildlands Trust, the Midlands and Dargle Conservancy, TWK. They have facilitated a program, and they are generating a large amount of donations, together with the Umgeni municipality, who has delivered today a fair amount of livestock feed up to the Karkloof area. So that's all intended to assist the livestock on these community farms, on the commercial farms, and within the burnt-out plantation areas, with reference to the wildlife that will be suffering with nowhere to go to graze.
Now you have been...
The fundraising has been, excuse me, Nadia, the fundraising has been phenomenal, and thank you to all the donors for reaching out and providing this assistance. And generally, I must say, the community, when these incidents do happen, come together wherever they are in KZN and assist each other to ensure that commercial farming operations are not impacted, but also the wildlife out there can survive.
I am very happy to hear that organizations and the community have absolutely jumped on board to help. But viewers at home, this is absolutely a call to action. Please do reach out to any of the organizations that are working tirelessly to care for the families that have been affected, as well as the wildlife and livestock that are in need of food at the moment. If you can reach out, please do reach out to them on their social media platforms to make a donation. This is, a protected area. This is something we all need to come together on to assist. Now, I want to talk about your journey as well. You've been a fire protection officer for more than 20 years now, and you are also responsible for around 250,000 hectares of land. In your experience, have you ever seen anything like these fires before?
In our area, yes, we had our biggest fire in 2007. We term it the Curry's Post Fire, and that resulted in the formalization of the Lions River Fire Protection Association. That fire in 2007 wiped out approximately 20,000 hectares of commercial farming, commercial timber, as well as homes, livestock. A lot of livestock was killed, and there were unfortunately injuries during the firefighting operations as well. So that was the biggest fire that we have had. Since then, and with the growth of the Fire Protection Association, and now having 94% of our landowners on board within the 250,000 hectares, we are able to facilitate and coordinate fire management a lot better, as well as communicate on a daily and regular basis in terms of the fire danger rating to our members. We broadcast all the national warnings that are put out by the South African Weather Service in terms of legislation, and that most certainly has assisted. The biggest sort of focus area going forward is the issue of climate change and its contribution to the devastation of our landscape, whether it be through drought, extreme storms, or wildfires. But talking about wildfires, if I look at the trends that have happened over the past 6-7 years, our fire seasons have shifted out by 6 to 8 weeks. We used to get frosts and be able to start our mitigation measures as early as May each fire season. We are now only being able to start that around about mid-June. With that, the frost that we have recently have been very severe and consecutive. We've had no rain, and that all culminates into a much higher risk scenario for landowners at this time of the year to start implementing their mitigation measures. So we need to continue working on strategies and looking at ways to do things slightly differently with our changing weather patterns, and ensure that our landscape as well as our communities are kept safe at all times.
No, I'm really glad that you brought up the conversation about, the importance of addressing climate change. And when we talk about climate change or climate activism and why it's so important for everyone to care about it and know as much as they can and, reduce their impact on the environment as much as we can, we look at scenarios like this. A lot of people are under the impression that climate change does not affect them and advocating for the environment doesn't affect them. But it absolutely does. If we look at the impact that climate change has directly on people's lives. The fires that are currently taking place are the epitome of what is at risk, and the devastation that is possible if we do not try and curb our actions in a way that we can try and heal the planet. And we cannot exist without the planet, of course. Now, speaking about that very impact that the climate has on people, what has been the impact on the homes of the people who live in the area, and how many of them have actually lost their homes due to the fires?
Fortunately, with the fires on Sunday, we only incurred 3 losses to home infrastructure, and that was the total home burning down. The one was a headman's home on one of the farms. He lost everything in his home. The second was a thatched home. Embers flew over probably a kilometre and landed on the thatch, engulfing that home before the actual fire had reached it at ground level. And the third home that was unfortunately destroyed, also one has to just look at fire-safe environments around homes. And unfortunately, the radiant and intense heat of the fire, once it got in close proximity to the structure, caught in the rafters and engulfed that home. So again, it's important wherever you live, even on a farm, on the rural urban fringe of towns, is to ensure that you have proper fire mitigation. Ensure your gardens are fire safe and you do not have combustible vegetation close to the homes, because this results in catastrophe at the end of the day, especially in these wildfire conditions.
Now, that is incredibly heartbreaking to hear, the impact that the fires have had on families in the surrounding areas. And we absolutely send our prayers and our well wishes to the families that have been affected, as well as the farmers who have been affected as well. What I also understand is that earlier on in our conversation, you mentioned how the Karkloof Nature Reserve was also impacted by the fires. And I understand that some of the private nature reserves have also been affected. How soon do you think that they will be able to continue operating once again?
All right. The Karkloof Nature Reserve, which is a government public nature reserve run by Isabella KZ Wildlife, that does have roaming free wildlife. It is not a public access reserve, but unfortunately the majority of the grasslands in that area are all burnt out. So that is the purpose of the Goodwill program, in providing lucerne, hay bales and other feed to those areas where the participants can set up stations, feed stations for the wildlife. In terms of the private reserve, there are animals on that. It was fortunate with the wind direction that not the entire state was burnt out. So there are still grassland areas, but one can be assured that this relief for the wildlife that exists in that private reserve will go down to them, and they will benefit from it.
Now, before we let you go, I know this is going to be a mammoth task to recover from the devastating effects of the fire, and it's going to take the community as well as South Africans in general to assist the people who have been affected, as well as the wildlife, as well as the livestock that have been affected by the fire, by the devastating fires. Can you please share some contact information or a website or any kind of contact personnel that viewers at home can contact to donate and assist in the initiatives that are ongoing to assist in any way possible?
Yeah, sure. There is Wildlands Trust. They have a website. I'm sure it's wildlandstrust.co.za. Otherwise, myself directly at the lionsriverfpa.co.za, or my email address fpo@lionsriverfpa.co.za. And we will gladly assist and direct them to the facilitators of this program.
Thank you so much for sharing that information. And Bobby, thank you for joining us this evening. And before we let you go, I would like to commend you and your entire team on the efforts that you have made to mitigate the fires as much as possible, keep them under control, as well as, assisting with all the goodwill initiatives that are happening at the moment to assist those that have been affected.
No, thank you very much for that, Nadia, and sort of just a word of advice to people out there: don't play with matches under these conditions. Fire gets away from you. And I'm always asked how wide must a fire break be? Well, I just want to light a garden stack. It only takes a single match to cause devastation. So keep those in your pocket and work hard with the mitigation. Do it safely on the right days, and let's prevent this vast spread of fire across our landscape.
Thank you for sharing that with us today, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Only a pleasure, Nadia. Thank you, and thank you to your viewers.
Viewers at home, that was Bobby talking about the Karkloof fires that have been devastating communities in the area, wildlife in the area, as well as livestock. Climate change is here, and it is here to stay. It is no longer a topic of conversation that is lingering on for decades, that seems like a far-fetched idea that isn't happening. It is happening now, right in front of our eyes, and it is time that we all make an impact. Take initiative and implement healthy environmental changes within your households. Every small contribution does count. Start being kinder to the environment. It's time that we all play our part. If we look at all the devastation that is happening across our country right now, climate change is here to stay. And it's time that we stand up and do something about it. Whether it be the fires in Karkloof, the fires that have just started on Northcliffe Hill, the fires that have taken place in Ritvlei, as well as the storms that have been devastating its way through the Western Cape. Climate change is here to stay. And if we don't do something about it, we don't want to wait until it's too late. It's absolutely a call to action. Please do reach out to the many organizations that are working in the Karkloof area to provide, whether that is animal feed or assistance to the families and farmers who have been affected. Please do go onto their website or go have a look at their social media platforms as well, and please assist in any way that you can. But on that note, viewers, it is time for us to take an ad break, and we'll come right back.